Bro, I love how everyone's dooming. It's too late. I'm never playing Throne again. I'm never doing it. It's such a bad game. I'm uninstalling. I'm done. Introducing T3 gear and a new expansion for Throne of Liberty. Oh, we are so fucking back, boys. Oh, God.
Hey guys, before this video starts,
oh my God, 6K views in a day on a Throne of Liberty video is insane. Look at that like ratio. Holy moly. The death of Throne of Liberty.
I just wanted to thank y'all for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out the Twitch channel as I stream.
Nah, dude, you wait and do that at like the 4 or 5 minute mark. After people have committed to watching the video, you casually be like, yo guys, remember to like the video. That's it. I'll do it in a few minutes. I'll show you.
Basically every single day. I put in a lot of time in this video, a lot of passion. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and feel free to share your opinions in the description below. Enjoy, guys. Throne and Liberty, NCSoft's new IP in the MMORPG space. This game has gone through so many iterations that most of you may not know about. Originally being a sequel to the famous Lineage franchise known as Lineage Eternal in 2011, and then in 2017 it later renamed to Project TL, and then finally in 2022 the final version that you know today as Throne and Liberty. Each iteration was actually vastly different to each other. Interestingly enough, originally Lineage Eternal was actually a top-down MMORPG styled game with a squad-based system, where you would switch between 4 different non-customizable heroes throughout your encounters. After delays, issues, and an overall change of direction for the game, NCSoft decided to go down a new path though, fundamentally reworking all the systems and swapping from the previous game engine to the Unreal Engine 4. This was the second iteration of the game named Project TL. Project TL would still be a top-down MMORPG styled game, but would do away with the squad-based hero system that Lineage Eternal previously had. They would then introduce the more...
Is Lineage a good game? I never played Lineage. I don't know. I never hear anybody say, okay, there's like a few people out there that are like, yeah, Lineage was like goated, whatever, but I don't really hear any... Guild Wars 2 is usually what people say is like a phenomenal old MMO.
Traditional class system
for PvP.
You could choose from 5 different customizable characters like the Ranger, the Warrior, and the Mage. There would also be the introduction of a new physics-based destruction and manipulation system important to the gameplay loop of Project TL, and of course an overall higher visual fidelity. But what—
God, that shit looks like ass. I'm so glad they didn't go that way. Bro, a top-down like that, I don't like Lost Ark for the same reason.
Once again, from what we understand, NCSoft was not happy with the direction of the game, and perhaps they didn't want to compete with Lost Ark at the time. They decided for the third time to completely rework the scope of their game. This in 2022 was revealed as Throne and Liberty. Stepping away from the ARPG style of the previous—
Top-down is not the vibe for any serious MMO. That's not true. Lost Ark is a super serious MMO. Lost Ark is a phenomenal game. It's got like the second best combat in the genre. I think it does raids really well, right? And whatnot. But at the end of the day, I prefer BDO if I'm going to play like an immersive game. And I prefer Throne of Liberty if I'm going to play stuff like that. Lost Ark is just not a PvP MMO. It's not. It's not at all.
Versions, Throne moved towards your traditional
keyless and maidenless. You know what? Have you seen my weight lately? I've been losing a lot of weight. I don't want to hear it. I've been working out like crazy. Anyway...
third-person styled MMORPG, with brand new systems including a new weapon-based class system, a comprehensive weather system that would fundamentally change the game's mechanics, and many more massive changes. Again, there would also be a massive upgrade in the visual department to make sure the game was in line with modern-day graphical standards. The graphics was also marketed mainly towards the large-scale PvP audience, with guilds and alliances fighting over nodes in the world to massively hyped-up siege battles that could host up to thousands of players. This would then be mismanaged and would take a change in direction for the worse, and I will explain more on this later. Throne and Liberty definitely had by far one of the wildest development processes I've ever seen in the MMO space. Even the game developers quoted that they even lost sight of their initial vision of the game. Previous iterations that included Lineage in the game's title, like Lineage Eternal and Project the Lineage, NCSoft felt like they had changed the game's story and systems far away from the original that it warranted its own standalone IP. With the amount of changes throughout the development process, it really did show that the development team was flexible to fundamentally changing their game for the better or worse. This was definitely present with the timeline between the disastrous open beta on May—
Oh, you guys remember the open beta? This shit was basically a mobile game. They were like, our gameplay is so ass, you could literally just autoplay it. Holy crap.
2023 to the Korean launch later that year. Now, why was the open beta in Korea for Throne and Liberty such a disaster? Let's talk about it.
Guys, could you please like the video? It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. Just right there. Just right. Yeah. Thank you. That's how you do it in Bone, by the way. What the? Bro, what is that? What? Bro, he's got his hand off the keyboard. He's got his hand off the keyboard, just like one of the... Nico is like the doomer of MMOs, period. I'll be honest with you, Nico is known as like, he's like the Grim Reaper of MMO reviews.
What?
The combat TNL has always been regarded as a pretty weak aspect of the game, but once we all saw the combat that was shown,
I think the combat's actually pretty good if they could get the targeting fixed. I think if the targeting was like better, the combat would not feel nearly as bad, but they still have so much work to do with the targeting.
Showcased by streamers and players participating in the Korean open beta, the feedback they also gave being very harsh, the game was basically an instant write-off and a huge disappointment to the MMO player base as a whole. The clunky, unresponsive, and unfun combat had completely ruined the game. Also to add, there was a big emphasis on the autoplay function in
As if you needed more evidence. This guy, literally the Grim Reaper of MMO reviewers right here. On God. He's like death knocking at your door. The dude is like legitimately sitting here with a clown nose. God is my witness. Playing the Benny Hill music as he runs around in Throne of Liberty.
combat, which is prevalent in a lot of mobile games, and it is very shunned upon by us PC and console gamers. Combat is an extremely...
I watched Stoops' review. I remember my first interaction with Throne of Liberty was watching Stoops' review, and he was fair, but it was scathing. It was scathing because of the autoplay feature. And I just remember that was my first interaction, like watching Stoops in general. And I think that based on the feedback from the open beta, and this is a W devs, they changed the whole game based on what people told them. How many devs are going to be able to do that, right?
Only important part of any game.
He didn't like TNL. He doesn't like TNL. But that's a story for another time.
And so with the negative press and feedback, NCSoft decided to delay the game to later that year. They would then completely rework the combat system and remove the auto combat feature. Now this was great and all, and honestly pretty much saved the game from failure on release.
Also attacking
but we will
while
start
casting.
seeing some issues later down the line stemming from the original design that I will talk about later. Alright, it's the 7th of December 2023. TNO has officially released on the Korean servers, and there's definitely mixed emotions. We had a lot of skepticism because of, well, NCSoft's previous track record, but there was also a lot of intrigue and hype because people in general are just looking for that next MMO. My friends and I bought Korean accounts from an account seller as you needed a Korean phone number to be able to create an account, and honestly the launch experience was extremely solid. No emergency maintenances, no queues, and stability in general was quite solid. The game felt pretty
Can't have instability on your servers if you don't have any players. The truth.
polished.
Now I was okay. Memes aside, I was offered like a Korean account to play it early, and I just didn't want to. I don't want to do it because I didn't want to get in trouble.
Besides the big topic I will talk about, which is desync. Now, desync has been a huge issue.
Y'all don't understand what desync even is. I was born in the trenches. This isn't even a problem. Like, bro, BDO, y'all have no idea. Y'all haven't experienced desync until you've been like literally hitting the same target for like 4 minutes. Only to rubber band back the other way. Or Jeff, thanks for the Prime sub, but I appreciate you. Thanks so much, man.
And thrown for a while now.
Like again, Throne does have desync issues. This ain't bad. This is like whatever.
If you've played the game for an extensive amount of time, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. This has been the first time for me that a game has been unplayable without a VPN like exit lag. Not sponsored, by the way. Even right now, a lot of people in my guild on NA East are basically using some sort of VPN, and a lot of these players are literally in the same country the server is located. In my case, if I do not use a VPN on either the Korean or North American servers, I will have massive delay in ability usage, disconnects, huge server lag at bigger...
Well, that's not really desync. That's just like performance, and that's gonna happen when you're in siege with like, bro. There's like 1,000 people around. Yeah, that's gonna happen. I'm just gonna take the hot take on this particular issue. I think that one of the things TNL does well, optimizing large scale PvP performance. I think that if you think TNL has poor large scale PvP performance, you've never played Black Desert Online. You've never seen bad performance. I've crashed, you crash a few times in Siege and TNL. You rubber band a little bit. Yeah, sure. There's bugs and stuff that happen as a result. Yep. Ain't nothing. Ain't nothing. Especially compared to some of the other MMOs. Yeah, ESO was also crazy bad from my understanding. Guild Wars 2 was not as bad, but they don't try to do scale like a thousands of this players looking at each other all the time.
I will have massive delay in ability usage, disconnects, huge server lag at big events, and crazy flying morph desync. I do wonder how many people that don't know.
That's why, again, I think that if the thing that Throne does best is scale, I think that the best numbers for PvP in MMOs, if you want to do large scale, is like 24 to 25 people. We'll say 25 because it's a nice round number, to like 45. Maybe upwards of 50. We'll say 50. Anywhere between these two numbers right here, this is ideal. So 25v25, 50v50, 50v50 being like the upper edge of what you want to do. But once you get over that, you start to struggle with performance issues. And even though Throne does scale really well, I think that it should focus on doing, if it wants to focus on large scale PvP, you need to keep it within that frame.
Know about this have been turned off by this game because the game could feel extremely bad to play without a VPN for some players. Now, launch was extremely fun and sweaty for the player base, and of course, we're all having a blast. This is also expected because honestly, most MMO launches are usually somewhat fun. One piece of
Speaking of MMO launches, we've got one in 39 minutes.
Content that was very important to do were world events. Back before Dominion events existed, we had conflict events.
What are we watching? We're watching Invol's video. Watch Invol's video on TNL. We got Chrono in a few minutes here.
Which were basically controlled by alliances since there was no team color system and are a completely open world. This was a huge problem that I will talk about a little later. The reason why world events were
this was my favorite part about Throne of Liberty. Killing bosses like this with like a gajillion people around you and trying to like lock them down with your guild and stuff. These were the fondest memories I have of this game. Like straight up. This was so much fun. Like constantly showing up and trying to dog on the enemy, like guilds and alliances, bro. Again, if they brought this, the fact that they took this away, I think really hurt Throne. Really, really hurt Throne. This needs to come back. I agree. Yeah, this needs to be back. Like this needs to come back to the game. But again, if you just remove alliances and just put the same conflict boss system in the game, just take alliances away and force. Like, guilds can ally with each other, but it's a maximum of 70 people no matter what, which is the maximum guild size. Well, then small guilds can ally with other small guilds and fight strong guilds or bigger guilds, right? Like, and guilds can feel like they have like a meaningful like progress on the boss. You know what I mean? Like that's what you want, is like those smaller guilds to feel like their time is not wasted showing up for PvP. But like, dang, bro, this is it, bro.
World. This was a huge problem that I will talk about a little later.
Yeah, the small guilds don't ally most of the time. Well, again, yeah, but the small guilds can pull like 20 people, right? 20, 30 people. But that's the problem, is that even if the small guilds don't want to ally, they bring 20 or 30 people. Imagine bringing 20 people and having to fight 280. Right? Even with the rest of the server helping you. Insurmountable task. Right? It's just not, people just aren't encouraged to show up to that. But if you're 20 people and you show up and there's 70 people there, and the rest of the servers there too, fighting those 70 people because they're not all on the same team. Okay, right? This is doable. The 20 people are like, okay, well, we can go around the side. We can eat their tail, right? Oh, get a big kill feed here, right? And then they can get contribution on the boss. They can make something happen as a 20-man squad against 70, right? In like in an environment like this where you see all these different guilds, right? But like, you can't do that with 280 people all on the same team. It's just not possible.
The reason why
server merge, remove alliance. I don't think the servers necessarily need to be merged between NA East and NA West. I think that you guys don't understand what you're asking for. They would need to buy servers in either St. Louis or Chicago. Probably Chicago, because it's usually where they sit, or even in Austin, right? Like, they have to get whole new servers, combine the two, or, and this is the more likely, they're just going to pick one of the servers and they're just going to run on those servers. Everyone's going to play on the same servers. And you guys are complaining about server optimization now. Whoa. Just wait.
But events were extremely valuable, especially when it came to getting a high rank, was because they would supply with basically the only realistic way to get Marins. Marins for a long time were also worth a lot of in-game currency, so this gave monetary value for big alliances to control all conflict events. You may see a problem here. Killing other players back in the day was also a competitive advantage, as when you died back in the day, it costed a lot of salt to remove resurrection sickness, which was
Bro, that was annoying. I
a
hated it.
big stat.
Is BDO still good? If you're a PvPer, no. If you're a PvEer or a life skiller, yeah, it's a phenomenal game.
Debuff. Eclipse, which is the ability for being rank 1 kills on your server, was also worth having compared to today. So that meant you had a lot of people risking their soul to gain more kill ranking. Now, to be honest, the change they made later with removing the paying of soul to remove your resurrection debuff was
Is it chrono time yet? Nope. 35 minutes.
actually a great change, as more people were motivated to PvP and people weren't so scared of dying. In general though, there was definitely a lot more at stake and created a more incentive when it came to attending every event and being a hardcore gamer in general. Now, alliances. This in my opinion has been one of the factors for the game's downfall. If you're not
Agree and based.
familiar with Throne and Liberty, guilds can hold up to 70 players and alliances can hold up to...
Wait.
If you're not familiar with Throne and
The top killed in NA East. That's the top killed in NA East. They haven't lost in the tournament yet. They have 3 people online. Oh, it's so good.
Liberty, guilds can hold up to 70 players and alliances can hold up to a total of 4 guilds, reaching a total of 280 players on the same team. We have seen
much.
over time from the Korean servers and global servers that alliances have caused massive damage to the health of servers.
People don't want to be zerged that hard. It's just the truth. Like, again, take my advice. Please. You can even fly me to the studio, and I will tell them exactly what they need to do to fix this game. God is my witness. And everything Invon is saying so far, it's true. It's true. Especially the alliance thing.
As someone that has been part of the strongest alliances on the server and has led a very strong alliance, I can vouch for how bad the system is.
Yep.
Alliances used to be even worse, as the point mentioned before, most content was open world. This included boonstones, riftstones, conflict events, bosses, tax cart, and siege. Depending on the health of your server,
That was good, though.
alliances could literally control every piece of content. A great change they made to the game was the introduction of the colored teams throughout.
Yeah, I think that they've taken some great steps to like mitigate how bad the alliance system actually is. And those steps should stay in the game, but just you still have to address the issue. You still have to get rid of the alliances. You can still have scale. It just doesn't need to be like 400 people all the time versus 300 people. It can be like 70 versus 70 versus 30 versus 40 versus 50, right? Like you can still have that scale, but they don't all need to be on the same team.
Multiple pieces of content like Siege, Tax Cut, and Dominion events. Now, I need to preface this, I understand Shadow Alliances can exist, but you have to take into account that friendly fire exists and the overall drama that comes with creating Shadow Alliances. The fact that there is still an in-game alliance system that is supported by the developers is an absolute joke. The only way I can see alliances even working is if you have a massive player base and, well, yeah.
Hey, I'm doing my best to keep that number high. I just want to point out we lost like, 7,000 here, right?
As quoted here,
We've noticed something interesting, and that's the incredibly positive reception to our guild versus guild content. That's also coupled with concerns about how alliances and mega alliances are continuing to impact the overall PvP experience. As Throne and Liberty continues to evolve, we want to adapt content to lean into what players are organically enjoying. And I'm personally very excited and optimistic about this new direction.
you can see the developers in a
Yeah, that was such a great sequence of words. And if you had just followed it up with like, yeah, we're going to remove alliances, or we're going to reduce alliance caps to like 70, it would have been
just want to move towards a smaller scale type of PvP, but they still want to keep the alliance system in, which in my
It's not necessarily smaller scale. I mean, yes, in some cases it is, right? You would have scaled down Rift and Boonstones. Like some of them need to be like 24 versus 24, 36 versus 36, etc. That helps guilds kind of ramp up and get stronger as guilds so that they can fight other guilds that are around the same strength as them when they're weak and like early on, right? But like that smaller scale, sure, that's reasonable. But like especially for boon stones, that would work because there's a lot of boon stones. But like, again, for open world stuff, bro, it's not even smaller scale. It's still the same number of people. They're just not all on the same team.
Opinion is counterintuitive. The only place
What's
where
the backing audio? Okay. This is one of the best edited videos that I've seen Invulnerable put out. On God. I should sub to him. But the music in the background doesn't match what the hell is going on. And also, it's a little loud.
alliances make sense right now is Siege and Taxcar, which happen every 1 to 2 weeks. And I also believe this content can definitely be
Anybody know if there's how many hours to go for Croatia beta? 30 minutes. 31.
reworked or reformatted to support guild versus guild.
It's the bard music from the game. I know it is. But he should have... He needs to at least lower the volume.
Now, throughout the first years of the Korean servers being live, there was a few hiccups here and there. As an example, on the 24th of January, a new big event bringing the introduction of the new resistance skills. This was TNL's worst event to ever exist, where you had to compete and place decently high in wall defense to even gain access to using some of the more powerful abilities in the game, like Greatsword's Guillotine Blade. NCSoft then later sent an apology and then ended up reworking the system so everyone had access to those abilities. In general, though, NCSoft were cooking up some great updates for the game, like the introduction of minion events, Riftstones and Boonstones being GVG based, skill specializations, hyper boost servers, great economy changes.
The rune rework was really good too.
Many more great updates.
Yeah.
However, there were 2 things that Front and Liberty could never get right, which is game balance and time gates.
I don't give a about game balance. I'm just gonna be honest. Game balance, it's fixed over time. They can fix game balance. Guys, game balance is fixable. They can keep updating. Tico even just said there's another balance patch coming. They can keep changing game balance. It's never gonna be perfect. No one gives a shit. It's the system. The system needs to be fun. If the system is not fun, no one gives a shit about your game balance. Okay? You can have the best balance, perfectly balanced. Everything in the game. Doesn't matter, because the system is garbage. Okay, first you must have a good system, then the game balance matters. It's just that simple.
Historically, time gates have always existed throughout MMOs in one way or another, like for example weekly raid lockouts in World of Warcraft. But when your whole game is based around time gates, lockout and adding pay to win to bypass gear time gates, your game becomes awfully mobile game-like, which is not a good thing. Lost Ark
I think if they remove the time gate on all content, remove all time gate on contracts, dungeons, everything, the game would unironically improve. Because then as a player, I can be like, oh, I don't have to log in today to do 3 dungeons and then do my 4 dungeons, do my 10 contracts, then go to the conflict mod, do stuff. No, I can be like, I'm just gonna do 100 contracts today. Because that's what I feel like doing. Like that's what you need to allow your players to do. Like straight up. I agree with him on this, by the way. They should just remove all of the limitations on this stuff. Allow people to play your game as much as they want. Let them go nuts, man. What's the worst thing that happens? They get gear and then they what do you think they're gonna quit once they get their gear? No, they're gonna go shit on all those people because they worked so hard to get that gear so quickly. They're gonna walk around trying it with their dick hanging out, trying to kill other players. Bro, they're just gonna play even more, which means they're gonna spend more money. Obvious.
Another Korean MMO had a lot of these lockouts and daily systems and was
Traits go down in price. Well, you could keep introducing new systems and stuff, or new gear and stuff to the game, to keep that stuff at like a reasonable price. But like, let's be honest, all that shit's tanked anyway. What are we talking about?
arguably why Lost Ark ended up losing.
Like, ultimately, traits being at 0 doesn't matter very much. Eventually, everybody gets, the prices come down, all the free-to-play players get all their gear and stuff. What's the big time gate for the game? The amount of armor stones and stuff that you have to level up your gear, which you have to play the game in order to get, right? Like doing contracts, doing your dungeons, doing all that stuff, like playing the game, doing your open world tokens and stuff, right? Traits are at 0. Exactly, bro. Like, who cares, right? Like, and most importantly, mastery. Mastery is something you can only get by playing the game. Let people play the game. Let people go nuts, man. Like, they'll keep playing. It doesn't matter. You make it less about the pay. You shift a little bit less about the pay to win, right? A little bit less about the in-game economy in the marketplace, a little bit more about stuff that requires you to play the game. That's healthy for the game, but let people play unlimited. That's good.
losing a lot of their player base. In general, predatory mobile gaming practices have over time really seeped its way into PC and console gaming. This has been decently present in Throne and Liberty, and it's a huge factor in why a lot of games die. If you really look into Throne and Liberty's game loop, the game as a whole is basically one massive time gate. Giving the freedom to players to do what they want when they want will reduce fatigue and overall burnout compared to forcing players to do every piece of content at a set scheduled time. I'm not saying scheduled content is bad, but there is a fine balance in it. A great example of this is RuneScape or Black Desert. In both of these MMOs, you truly have the freedom to do what you want when you want. Now, arguably one
True, brother. That is true.
of Throne and Liberty's downfalls is how unbalanced the game has generally been over the years. From tanks being able to press counter barrier to wipe raids of players, to tanks generally being way too impressive, to both players being able to wipe enemy raids with one man.
The reason that most of the time when I'm playing a game on stream, it ends up being Black Desert is because Black Desert's gameplay loop allows me to do whatever I want, whenever I want, however much I want to do it. Throne is like, okay, well, I'm going to do my dungeons, my contracts, and then I'm going to sit there. And I guess I'm going to queue for arena. Like, bro, I can't even get like 2 hours worth of content out of Throne every day if I'm up to, right? It's impossible to stream it. Exactly. It's impossible. Yeah, there's too much downtime. You just can't play the game. They don't allow you to play the game. It used to be people like, well, guess I'm going to Nebula, right? That's the problem. BDO, I can just sit there and do whatever the hell I want, as long as I want. It's the way that it goes. It is what it is. Looking forward to doing the same thing in Chrono. The reason I love Throne is because the large-scale PvP is so good. Damn it. I love the large-scale PvP. That's always what I've loved most about MMOs is large-scale PvP.
Massive AoE, to spears and arch bosses being able to wipe raids with just a few press of buttons. This has created some of the most unfun experiences for players in PvP. Fundamentally, the double weapon based system has been a nightmare for the game. As an example,
I like the double weapon system. Bro, people have been bitching about this, bro. Chrono's got the same shit. Chrono got the same shit. I like it in there too. I know that there are people that are exhausted. They're fatigued. Is like the new word. Oh my god, I have double weapon fatigue. Like that's like the new thing that people will say. But like, I don't really mind like the double weapon stuff.
example, the sword and shield weapon in the game mainly designed to be a
It's the same thing with the morph thing. People are like, oh my god, I don't like the fact that you turn into an animal like a furry. Well, I don't like the fact that I have to ride on a horse all the time in Black Desert. Okay, it's way better than BDO in that regard. I love the morph system personally. I think it separates it from the other MMOs. I like that about Throne. It's cool. You turn into different morphs, right? It's really cool to see everybody's different morphs and stuff run around. I think that's cool.
tank weapon has actually been a key piece to creating Throne's most oppressive damage classes in the game, like for example Templar, Raider, or Steelheart. The amount of players that have quit Throne and Liberty based on how unbalanced and unfun a lot of the PvP metas have been is a lot.
No. People that quit for balance changes come back to the game, they come crawling back to the game with their fucking fingernails, you know what I mean, in the mud. They're like, I'm sorry, I'll never complain again.
Christian62
like
just resubscribed for 19 months. 2 years soon.
No one cares. No one gives a shit. Everybody that complains about, I quit because of balance. No, you didn't, pussy. You quit because you got killed in PvP and like they understood the game better than you, or they played more than you, or they spent more money than you, whatever, right? But even if they did quit for balance, it's not for that long. It really isn't. They come crawling back. The thing that gets people to quit games long term is the gameplay loop being shit, or the end game system being complete garbage.
This does not even count the bug metas that have existed since the release of Throne and Liberty Global. More on this later. Alright, so it's the 24th of July 2024. A massive combat overhaul to the game, including a new skill specializations, increasing build variety, and general changes to abilities. Economy changes were great, and the rework to open world dungeons was awesome. The skill specializations update was incredibly good for the game, and arguably one of the best updates that Throne and Liberty ever got. From the combat getting a huge improvement and the introduction of hyperboost servers, this update brought back a lot of returning and just new players to the game.
Yeah, those events were so good. It was a WAGS, WNC, so whoever came up with that, I think it was AGS. Like all of like the hyper boost servers and like the catch-up mechanics, that was really good.
Servers were
Really
fresh start
smart.
servers basically with a fresh economy and an enhanced speed to leveling and gear progression, something I wish the global servers had.
Bow users left due to balance. It's because the bow users were the fucking loser PvPers that needed to play the best They were on the copium that they were like just god tier players when Bo was just super busted, right? And then their class got nerfed, and then other classes passed it like Spear, and then they realized that they weren't the best anymore, and then they realized they couldn't compete with other players. Tell me I'm wrong.
People from around the world were trying Throne and Liberty for the first time because they could finally catch up to the veteran players. Honestly, this is one of the most fun experiences I've had in Throne and Liberty, and a lot of players share this sentiment. There was tons of players that everyone was PvPing since no one lacked the gear to fight. Like mentioned before, Hyperboost servers were a great way for new players to catch up and to get more players to try your game. Unfortunately, the developers and AGS feel this.
Now, I want to address a question I've seen frequently in our community. How are new and returning players supposed to catch up if you didn't do a Hyperboost server? Our approach is that catch-up mechanics should be
That's the fun part. You're not.
core game features, not a separate server that isolates new and returning players from the general population.
Personally, I would love more players trying to get in.
Shut up. There is no, I love you, Evolve, but like, there's no excuse. If a new player intentionally dodges the Hyperboost server, whose fault is that? That's the new players. This would be like a player in Black Desert intentionally not making a season character and then bitching that they can't catch up. Like, stop it. You're just a moron.
To the competitive scene for PvP, but one of the comments I get from my Twitch chat is, I wish I could get
What's
into
a Hyperboost server? It's basically seasonal.
PvP, but I find it hard to catch up. As someone that has multiple gear
It's a
sets,
super catch-up mechanic server. Super geeky catch-up mechanic focused server.
good artifacts,
20
high
minutes,
level
I know.
mastery, I would love players that have the chance to be able to catch up to me faster. They had the system set up for this, but for some reason, they would rather kill their game than helping out new players.
Again, that's way too doomer. That's stupid. They did try to help their new players. New players sometimes want to help themselves. There's only so much you can do. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this.
Before we really get into the downfall of PvP, a big topic
I think they had plenty of catch-up mechanics, especially with like the T. You guys remember the T2 blue gear they handed out for free? They had plenty of catch-up mechanics, in my opinion. I think that it was easy for a new player to pick it up and play.
to talk about is going to be the pay-to-win aspect of this game.
Time is money, friend.
Now, if I'm
Nobody
going to be
cares.
completely honest, I do believe mostly the pay-to-win Throne is not that bad. I feel the main issue
It's pretty bad. I main pay-to-win MMO, like trash MMOs. Chrono's the first game I'm going to play that it isn't pay-to-win. I'll believe it when I see it. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to be pay-to-win. Nobody cares. Okay, the people that are invested in this game, they don't care about the pay to win. It's just like BDO. Do you know how many people playing BDO give a shit about the fact that it's pay to win? They don't. They don't. In fact, they jack off to the fact that other players have to spend thousands of dollars for the gear that they, oh god, I didn't have to spend a dime. Oh, yeah.
issue is probably going to be the Archboss weapons, costing up to $1,000 for sometimes an insane power spike. There's also the aspect of the pay-to-win kind of getting amplified because the game is time-gated. So if you are a new player, my recommendation as a
Oh
streamer
yeah, true. Guild Wars 2 is not pay to win, and I'm gonna do a full playthrough of that probably in July.
is always to swipe. And I don't really like giving that advice, but it is what it is. I would definitely prefer pay-to-win not existing as a whole, especially since when you slap the pay-to-win
I don't think that pay to win is nearly as much of a problem in Throne now, because in Black Desert, I can just pay to win right now. I can play $10,000 and be at full end-game gear. Done in a day. In Throne, there's only so much you can get with pay to win. You can't get mastery. You're not going to be able to get the armor stones to level up your gear. You're just cooked. Right? You maybe hit like 4,000 gear score. But like, you got to play the game.
tag on a game,
Bookworm, thanks for the prime stuff, but I
people
appreciate you
won't even
dropping it
try
here,
your
man.
game, which will also affect the dwindling player base, but it is what it is once again. PvP players have two main factors of why they will PvP. One is going to be ego, and two is going to be
Jude, don't even talk to me about it.
incentive. Mainly prevalent on the global launch of the game, over time, the developers have reduced the reason to be competitive and removed a lot of incentive for PvP. As an example, rank 1 kills on a server is pretty much useless now, completely neglecting the wargame system.
Fair.
The system could have been
That affects one player, but yeah.
great for the PvP player base, from casual to semi to hardcore, and honestly it didn't require too much development time because you literally had all the maps and all the systems there. Unfortunately,
I remember guilds competing so hard for the Eclipse and stuff. Holy moly, bro. I remember people getting sweaty about that. ants nest. Holy God, bro.
The developers also did not listen to the cries of their players. Everyone has been asking for a queuable PvP system like Battlegrounds, which could have been tied to war games, but oh well.
I can't say anything about this like legally, publicly, but I'll be honest, guys, there's no way that they're not working on a Battleground system. There's no way that's not coming. That's all I'm gonna say.
Another is the nighttime PvP chest nerf for mostly killing off PvP at nighttime dungeons, the PvE boss portals being way more worth than Dominion or Guild portals. Also,
Too late. Bro, I love how everyone's dooming. It's too late. I'm never playing Throne again. I'm never doing it. It's such a bad game. I'm uninstalling. I'm done. Introducing T3 gear and a new expansion for Throne of Liberty. Oh, we are so back, boys. Oh, God. Bro, tell me you're not going to come. Shut the up. Tell me you're not going to come crawling back immediately. You're so stupid. We're deranged. Shut up. We'll be back here in a second. Bro, we would be back here. I don't care if it's for the tournament or what. We would be back here in a minute. It wouldn't matter.
General, the new portal system killing off.
If they fixed conflict bosses, fixed the alliances, come out with T3, so everybody's got to come grind again, right? Like they fix all the issues that honestly Invol's talking about in this video right here. Tell me people wouldn't be back in a second. They remove all of the caps on your ability to play the game, right? So no more contract caps, no more dungeon caps, no more like token cap, whatever. Bro, like that's people would come back and bro, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? People would come back in a second. Too little, too late. Yeah, Davis is logging in. You would never get me to play this trash game. Okay, so which Riftstone are we dropped on?
Large-scale PvP. There was also a Nebula Island time nerf that did not achieve anything besides making the game worse. There are plenty more changes and issues they have made, but a lot of changes were made towards the casual player base while damaging the competitive PvP scene. And I'm not saying they should not cater towards the casual player base, but I do believe there should be fun content.
I'm gonna say this, because somebody in chat reminded me. They deleted all their shit because it's trendy right now. One thing, like I love Asmongold and everything. One thing that really grinds my gears about Asmon is about how he says no one cares about large-scale PvP and MMO, or PvP in MMOs. Nobody cares about PvP and MMOs. Oh, it's so annoying, bro. Like, it's so annoying because I know that developers hear shit like that and they're like, man, he's got such a big platform. He must be right. But you gotta understand Asmon's background. He comes from World of Warcraft, the most PvE MMO of all time. When did you ever see Asmon doing PvP in WoW? If not just, oh my God, we killed the lights or whatever. No one gives a shit. He wasn't like I understand that the amount of people that are into PvP in MMOs and the amount of people that are into PvE MMOs, it's disproportionate, right? But to say that there's no audience that would love like PvP and MMOs, that's madness. That would be like saying again, BDO never had a player base, or that Throne never had a player base, or that any of these are Guild Wars 2. Oh my God, how many people hate Guild Wars 2? Nobody. Okay, everybody loves Guild Wars 2. Shut the up. You know the centerpiece of Guild Wars 2? PvP. People love PvP and MMOs. They just don't want to be forced to do it. Okay? Don't force people to do PvP necessarily, right? But like encouraging people to do PvP like Throne does is very healthy. Very, very healthy, right? People can choose to avoid PvP and Throne altogether if they want to, but they're strongly encouraged to do it. And that's fun for a lot of people. That's a great way to introduce people to PvP systems. BDO used to do this really well too, except the open world PvP was just a step over the line.
For all types of players.
But like again, BDO for a long time was like, the PvE crybabies. They didn't care. And then all of a sudden they said, never mind, that's our player base. We don't care about the PvPers anymore. Like, bro, you got to pick a direction. Throne has a direction. We're not going to pretend that we're talking about a PvE game, although the raids are going to be fun.
But releasing problematic patches for the competitive scene of your game.
I hate knowing that there are millions of people around the world that love PvP and MMOs, and hearing this say that is so annoying. But in fairness, it's the same guy who says that classic World of Warcraft has better combat than Black Desert Online. Actually left his mouth. Literally crazy. Anyway.
While you advertise your game as a PvP MMO is mismanagement, especially when the future roadmap for this game has basically nothing for PvP players. Even AGS, a publisher that knows how to grab the attention of gamers and has the fun.
AGS, one of the best publishers I've ever seen. I'll be honest. I know that people give AGS shit. Incredibly good at their jobs.
Advertise really only the PvP aspect.
They're good at giving feedback. The reason the devs here are feedback is AGS. the events, AGS. Like all of this shit is all AGS. Like, it's literally insane. And the fact that they constantly talk to us and communicate with us and they're really positive, insane. Now, also, they actually support community events.
Game. As an example, during the pre-release live stream, they advertised 3v3 arenas and Siege. Throne of Liberty was never known for its PvE. Its target audience was always PvP players. There are plenty of other PvE focused games out there like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy, and if your game is on the brink of death, neglecting the players you advertise your game for is a big question mark.
Agree.
Previously, I had mentioned bugged metas. The game's polish, especially ever since Throne of Liberty's Talandra expansion, has been absolutely horrific. I'm now going to tell you a few from the list of recent game-breaking bugs. Guilds glitching into the same team or Dominion fights. Sealed Sanctuary entrance glitch. Falling through the Dominion.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to have the hot take. Yeah, the bugs are really frustrating, but if the systems were good, people would tolerate the bugs, no problem. If all of the systems were hunky-dory and people got what they wanted, they would tolerate the bugs, and we would be okay with waiting for them to be fixed. What exacerbates the bug fixes, like what makes the bugs more prevalent, is the fact that players don't feel like they're being listened to, and their systems that they've loved have been ruined. Okay, you fix the systems, people stop bitching about bugs. The bugs are much less important. They're a distraction from the real problem.
Portal and an interaction bug. AoE Blessed Barrier having double the effect. Card daggers being bugged in multiple ways.
Bro, what? Bro, why you gotta do me like that?
That had to be banned from the Best in Guild tournament. Blood Devotion literally having 4 different bugs in itself. Horde Warrior, Power Grip, Raging Frenzy, and Vampiric Contract bugs.
That's the only way I'm making it into this
cheesy
video.
Dimensional Trials, and accidentally adding a powerful Arcboss item to the Tier 3 dungeon and then removing it, then breaking the market, and you get the point. One of the final nails in the coffin for the...
Please say good things. Please say good things. Please do not. Please do not. Don't.
PvP player base and why a lot of people are quitting is what happened to the game during Blue Squadron's Best in Guild tournament. Now, Amazon personally funded a prize pool of 1.3 million Lucen. This was worth...
No, God, the way you phrased it is so important, dude. You can't say what happened during the tournament caused a lot of players to quit. That makes it sound like the tournament is why people quit. Listen to that one more time. If the devs hear that, listen to that.
Market, and you get the point. One of the final nails in the coffin for the PvP player base and why a lot of people are quitting is what happened to the game during Blue Squadron's Best in Guild tournament. Now, Amazon personally funded a prize pool of 1.3 million Lucen. This was worth over 20,000 USD. So this tournament was somewhat serious. But after the first week of matches and halfway through the tournament, there was a massive balance patch. Now, the balance will game halfway through a tournament for a prize pool worth over 20,000 USD is one.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Do you guys want to know my actual reaction when I saw that they were gonna do a big balance patch right in the middle of the tournament? You guys want my actual face? Straight up. God as my witness, I pooped my pants. I straight up pooped my pants. Because it's not because they just decided to do a balance change in the middle of the most important events that Talandra had. It was the fact that with big balance changes like this, and we all know it, come really big bugs. Right? Bugs that I cannot avoid as the tournament director. So I'm just sitting in my chair like, okay. Oh, yeah. Like, oh, God. Me. Bro. I was like, please, no bugs. No bugs at all. There were bugs. It was a problem. But we got through it. It was okay. We made it.
One thing.
It wasn't like we had to ban Burkant Dagger. It wasn't the end of the world. It was just, okay, it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. Burkant was literally being used by like every player in the game. And I had to ban it from the tournament. People were so upset with me.
But the issue was the amount of game-breaking bugs that were added during this patch.
I mean, look at these emotes on this shit, bro. I literally ban this shit, which everybody knows that I have to do, right? Because the Burkant, I still can't say. It's bugged in like 3 different ways, right? I had to ban it for the tournament. There's nothing I could do. I tried to keep it together. I try to hold it together, but like, there's nothing I can do. Look at these emotes I get. Look at what the fuck, guys? Guys, it's not funny. It makes it look like it's my fault. Like, oh my God, clown tournament. It's not my fault. Don't look at me.
This ended up creating a new bugged meta. So when it took them 2 weeks to fix the game-breaking bugs, which was again halfway through the tournament, it changed the meta for a 3rd time. PvP competitors had to invest a lot of real money to change their builds because of the meta changing over 3 times, and
they didn't give a bro. Everything was super cheap anyway. No one cared. They had to spend like, I don't know, 200 Lucent. Like
a few weeks.
No one cares.
Yeah. Now we could all take this information and
unless you bought an Arc Boss weapon, in which case, thanks for funding the tournament.
They just put it down to this. MMO games should never be developed.
Yeah. We're gonna play the Chrono Odyssey. Yeah.
With mainly PvP in mind. I don't exactly disagree, and I don't agree with this. I believe there is a big player base for both aspects of MMO gameplay. I truly believe MMO should have content for all types of players. It makes a more immersive living and breathing world, especially if you add life skilling and crafting aspects to your game. Throne and Liberty decided to create content for mainly PvP players, and then decided to take a 180 and neglect the PvP aspects of the game. I don't know what exactly happened to the Throne and Liberty development team ever since TNL released globally, but with the constant bugged updates and the out-of-touch decision making, at this rate the game will slowly bleed out players. As we can evidently see with the Steam charts and the Korean servers being pretty much dead. I
think the people doom too much on TNL. I think that if they do fix, I think they're capable of listening to the player base. I think that when they do make these changes and then the next expansion comes out, I think everybody will come back to play it because it's a really solid game. Yeah, I think that a lot of people are going to quit in the near future, but I do think that those players would absolutely come back to play, assuming that they fix the game and then they come out with a big update. I think that people would come back and play it. I don't think that TNL is like lost, you know.
Feel the game needed fundamental reworks and a philosophy change. I still believe the game could be saved, but it just seems NCSoft stopped caring, as they have most likely just moved on to their next big game, Ion 2. I hope they learned from the huge mistakes they made in Throne of Liberty and apply that knowledge to—
Are you playing on iOS or Android? No, seriously, it's a mobile game.
Ion 2. As it seems Ion 2 will have an emphasis on both PvE and PvP. Thank you guys for watching.
I think Ion 2 is going to be pretty good. I'm going to play it. We'll see.
And
I'm skeptical.
Peace out.
I'm skeptical. I think Ion 2 is going to be pretty good. This is a great video. This is one of the best videos ever put out. Look at that like ratio. It's crazy. There it is. Guys, go interact with the video. Give it a comment. Give it a subscribe.